Divorce gutted me, scraped me clean down to the bone, leaving nothing but a ringing emptiness and a dull, constant ache. I couldn't stand being inside my apartment anymore, every corner reminding me of her. So I got in my car and drove. No destination, just away. Away from Chicago, from people, from myself. That is how I ended up out there. The pavement ended, then the gravel ended. Soon I was crawling along deep ruts that looked like they hadn't seen a car in decades. Forest surrounded me on all sides, thick, dark, no gaps between the trees. Just when I was certain I was completely lost, the track opened into what looked like a town, if you could call it that. The houses were dead, windows like empty eye sockets. Weeds rose nearly to the rooftops. No smoke, no sound, no movement. The silence felt so dense it made my ears ring. I was about to turn around. Then I saw her, near the only house that hadn't fully collapsed into the earth. An old woman was digging. Bent nearly in half, she drove her shovel into the soil with a strange fury, as if she were not digging but trying to stab the ground itself. I only needed directions to the highway, nothing more. I stepped out of the car and called out, trying to keep my voice steady. "Mom?" She straightened slowly, joints creaking like old wood. Her face was nothing but wrinkles. Her eyes were cloudy, almost colorless. "What do you want, son?" she rasped. I told her I was looking for the highway, that I was lost. She pointed a thin finger toward the trees and said there was a trail through the woods that would lead me out. Then she added that she had no strength left and the earth still needed tending. She asked me to dig a couple of garden rows in exchange for wishing me well. Something about the way she looked at me sent a cold ripple down my spine. There was hunger in her gaze, something wrong. I should have left. Instead, I said, "Hand me the shovel." The soil was wrong, thick, black, heavy, and it writhed with worms. I had never seen so many in one place. They spilled from beneath the shovel, twisting, tangling into slick knots. It felt as if the ground itself was alive and breathing. I tried not to look. I just drove the shovel down and turned the earth, one row after another, moving automatically. But I could feel her watching me. The weight of her stare pressed between my shoulder blades. It felt like she was not looking at me, but into me. When I finished, she stepped closer. She smelled like a damp basement, mold, and something faintly sweet and rotten that made my stomach turn. "Thank you," she rasped. "The earth remembers kindness. Give me your hand." Before I could react, she grabbed my right palm. Her fingers were dry as sticks, but her grip was iron. She dragged her thumb slowly across my skin, rough and deliberate, as if testing something. Then she looked straight into my eyes. "You have a good hand, a working hand. The earth will like that." She released me. I hurried back to my car. When I turned onto the narrow trail she had pointed out, I glanced into the rearview mirror. She was standing in the middle of the road, watching me leave, and I thought I saw her smiling. The first itch began about an hour later. It wasn't on the surface. It was deeper, beneath the nail of my right index finger, like a splinter buried too deep to reach. I rubbed it against the steering wheel, trying to ignore it, but the sensation intensified. It spread, turning into a pulsing, drilling irritation. By evening, all 5 fingers were itching. By the time I reached the highway and stopped at a roadside diner, the itching had become unbearable. I went into the restroom, turned on the cold water, and held my right hand under the stream. The icy flow brought brief relief, but the moment I shut it off, it came back. That was when I felt it. Something moved beneath my skin. It was unmistakable. Not a cramp, not a twitch. It felt as if something inside my hand was writhing, slowly, intentionally, as if my muscles and tendons had come alive and begun to crawl. I clenched my fist, trying to stop it. The movement only intensified. My fingers locked in a painful spasm. I stared at my palm and saw small bulges rolling beneath the skin. I vomited into the sink. After that, everything blurred. I don't remember driving home. I think I was screaming the entire way. I locked myself in the bathroom and stared at my hand. It no longer felt like mine. The skin stretched tight over my fingers, pale and almost translucent. And inside were them. 5 thick, pale creatures occupying the place where my bones should have been. I could see them shifting slowly, rippling as if testing the limits of their new body. I felt every movement, felt them consuming me from the inside, turning my flesh into something that belonged to them. I was losing my mind. I slammed my head against the wall. I cried. I begged a God I never believed in to make it stop. It did not stop. The skin at the tip of my ring finger split open. No blood, just a quiet tear. And from it emerged a small pink blind head. It swayed gently, as if sensing the air, then slipped back inside. That was the end. I could not live like that. I could not be an incubator for that thing. I went into the kitchen. My legs trembled. My hands shook so violently I could barely stand. I pulled open the drawer and took out the largest meat cleaver I owned. I placed my right hand on the cutting board. They felt it. I knew they did. They began to writhe faster beneath the skin, thrashing, quivering, as if they understood what was coming. And then I heard her voice inside my head, dry, scraping. The earth does not forget. Go to hell, I screamed into the empty apartment. I squeezed my eyes shut, raised the cleaver, and brought it down on my wrist with all my strength. The crack of bone, a wet, splitting sound. Pain exploded in blinding white. The edges of the world went dark, but I did not stop. I struck again and again, turning my own hand into a ruin of blood and shattered flesh. I had to separate them from me, cut them away, destroy them. When it was over, I lay on the floor, pressing a towel against the stump, laughing from pain, from horror, from relief. My severed hand lay on the cutting board, and the fingers, they were still moving. They writhed slowly, convulsively, trying to drag themselves off the table. I stared at them, and my laughter collapsed into sobbing, because I understood. I had not gotten rid of them. I had only given them part of myself. And then I felt it again, that familiar, drilling, deliberate itch, deep inside the stump of my arm. And I knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning. They had not left. They were waiting. And now they would begin to grow again, from what was left of me.